Welcome in, Jeff Cameron Show, Warchant TV. It's always good to get caught up because it's an ever-changing space, and we're learning a lot as we watch it all take place from afar. But luckily, we've got the CEO of the Battle's End on the program, and we do regularly because, it's a chance to talk with Ingram and get inside information that not a lot of people know at this point. And I welcome him now. Ingram, are you just as I guess maybe surprised as so many of us at how quickly this is all transpiring? I'm going to reveal the 7 NIL entities and the official formation of that group and all that here in a second and explain it to folks. But I remember when you first signed on for this and I learned of this and we started talking and you said, well, man, this is going to be a whirlwind because day to day, I just don't know what to expect. It's a changing space at all times. And now we see something like this.
It has remained true to a changing space, and it is it is very much a fluid environment. But this is I feel like maybe we're on the prefaces of leaving kind of NIL 1.0, and we're maturing a little bit. And I speak both broadly of collectives and just from a macro perspective of college athletics, dealing with NIL, what it is, what it may ultimately turn into. And we're just trying to, we don't think we know all the answers. I certainly don't know all the answers, but we've got, one or two of them, certainly, I think. And it's all really kind of driven by a passion for, college athletics. Obviously, football is massive, but we do want to get this right. And I don't know that just kind of kicking down the can down the road and seeing, how this court case in Pennsylvania or this court case in California, how they resolve themselves, and then, trying to hurriedly put something together to save college athletics is a great idea. It's very, very important to an awful lot of people, and we're trying to have as beneficial an impact on things from the NIL perspective and from the perspective of the collectives by forming such a trade association.
Okay, so this all happens on the heels of, in essence, the NCAA going to Capitol Hill looking for NIL reform. And these are the 7 NIL entities, and you're part of that. The Battle's End is part of that. And it is called the Collective Association. And, this is something that, at least in terms of kind of wanting to set guidelines, identify problems, and expand and organize and benefit the athletes and guide in addition to monies, but also opportunities and information and education that you've wanted to do from the start. This, I would imagine, for you is a big step forward in that regard.
This is great. Absolutely. And I think the original kind of go back to my 1.0 of NIL was either, do the John Ruiz model, bang your chest as loud as possible, claim that every athlete that came to your school was because of you, take pictures with them, et cetera, or just not even be, in the equation, be kind of an unknown entity. And I don't know that either of those are particularly helpful or healthful or healthy models or ways to go about. So, the game has certainly changed. We are headed into a world where revenue sharing is all but certain. We feel like all parties need to kind of acknowledge that and then start to build something that is, protective of college athletics, but also acknowledges that, with all due respect to our, the places where you and I went to college, FSU and Hampton-Sydney don't play college athletics at the level that Florida State does. So let's be real. Let's, acknowledge those that play almost a form of semi-pro sports when you talk about the power and the monetization of the brands and what's behind them. And at the same time, I mean, look, I would have not been anything special, but I certainly gave the idea of wrestling in college, and I've loved women's college soccer since I was 8 years old. And college athletics as a whole is a beautiful thing that needs to be protected. And if we don't get this right, Jeff, football is not going anywhere. But you could see a serious gutting of college athletics across the board if some of these things don't ultimately work out, if athletes turn into employees, which, by the way, most athletes don't want to turn into employees of the schools that they choose to go to. So, again, I don't approach this, and I know that the schools, I know that the collectives that we've paired with don't view this as, hey, we know every answer to every question, but we do want to, take this conversation kind of out into the light and have a very serious conversation about the future of college athletics and how to best safeguard and protect it.
Yeah, and those that have a problem with what's happened, if you will, would argue that there has to be some form of federal legislation. And do you think that is something that's coming? Do you think that will be accomplished, a federal mandate of sorts?
Not per se. I don't. Now, look, everybody's got a different point of view on this, but I don't. When I talk to people in Washington, and I talk to people that are particularly informed upon this matter, I don't think the political appetite is there to address this. I don't think that there is a singular issue that, hey, let's just get real in the American political system. There kind of needs to be clearly defined lines for people to get behind it. And it's not like one party. Now, there may in time be political beliefs and parties that kind of line up quasi differently on this, but it's not like this is a clear cut, hey, the left side of the country stands on this side and the right side stands on that. So I don't know where, even the real political motivation or will is going to come from. So maybe that happens. I don't think it will. And, ultimately we'll see, but I don't know that I don't know that it's a risk worth taking of leaving this to Washington, D.C. to try to figure out a subject matter that, listen to them for 5 minutes. They're not familiar with this. And quite honestly, they got bigger things on their plate than trying to figure out, what college football looks like or something like that. Political elected leaders in Washington, D.C. are probably not the people, in our opinion, that you want to entrust the future of college athletics to.
Talking to the CEO of the Battles Inn, Ingram Smith. Ingram, what led to, I guess, specifically, whether it's the collective at Georgia or Tennessee or Mississippi, obviously you guys at the Battles Inn, USC, University of Michigan, Penn State, to come together in order to form this? How did those specific groups become partners?
This is a group of like-minded collectives that represent, now look, we don't speak for the institutions that we partner with, and we're never going to try to tell people that we do, but, it is like-minded collectives with kind of like-minded aspirations of the athletic programs that perhaps they're paired with that want to play college athletics at the highest level. This will not forever be a 7-person group. Now, we may forever be, founding members or some other super important title like that, but, this will grow. I can see this being schools mainly of the SEC and Big Ten. And this group, it wouldn't surprise me if it didn't grow into, say, the 20s or 30s over time.
Do you envision a time where it would certainly behoove, in my opinion, the NCAA to sit down and to speak with you guys? Do you think that, to learn the direction that the collective association thinks this needs to go and how to protect the sport and how to protect athletes, do you think that they would meet with you guys to have these kinds of ongoing conversations, especially since I agree with you that in essence, they're not going to get a response from Washington. So do you think moving forward, when that happens, they will be motivated to sit down and talk, or are they going to be irrelevant in the not too distant future?
We have been, and I speak, broadly speaking, as all the collectives that are joined in the press release that we released yesterday, have been very enthused by the response that we've gotten across the map, and we're excited to continue to carry on this conversation. And look, I'm not going to tell you that we're invited to go to Indianapolis next Tuesday or something like that, Jeff, but we think that the there are powers to be out there that have recognized the message and are interested in learning more, and that, in our opinion, is a very positive thing.
I always ask you this, and it'll be one of the last things I ask you for this discussion because I think we've learned a lot here. But what has changed recently for the better? What do you see that is coming into shape now that has you encouraged from where we were to where we are today?
I think there's more certainty as to what's out there. There's more certainty as to how to go about it. Also, the entities that have done this in the right way are, with each iteration of doing it the right way, you build up a reputation for yourself as have done such. And I think there's starting to be some clarity as to who's got their hands around this issue and who doesn't. And I think that's only going to be a good thing in the long run. I know it's made for some bumpy roads at particular institutions, but I think more and more schools, or not schools, more and more collectives are starting to figure out the importance of this. They're starting to have a more educated conversation about the agents in this space. And I think this is just maturing and growing into a more professional, landscape. And ultimately, NIL is going to take twists and turns. And I think a lot of people call, traditional NIL as, hey, maybe the offensive lineman goes to Subway and gets his picture taken and gets a free sandwich or something like that. I'm not sure that that's accurate, Jeff. I think, real, quote unquote, real NIL is the value that these kids bring on the TV contracts. You and I and a lot of your listeners of your show watch Florida State football because we're really excited about what the quarterback looks like or what the defensive end is going to look like. And ultimately, I think we're getting to the point where we're having more mature conversations about revenue sharing at a more legitimate level, and not saying that, NIL is,
the boogeyman. Yeah.
Going to give $50 to an offensive lineman, and meanwhile, all the alumni are having to basically foot the bill for this. I think everybody in the world, not alumni, but boosters, supporters of the school, etc. That's not a model that is sustainable for any school, regardless of how much wealth you have. You cannot just go around and pass the bill and expect for that to work for forever. It's working in this transition period, but I do think there's a light at the end of the tunnel with a much more defined and carved out ideas to what this is, and also a level of enforcement that perhaps could come with that as well. If you're going to be a collective and you're going to potentially have access to a revenue share that has to do with TV or apparel or any other source of income, then, perhaps there's some guidelines for you to act in accordance with the rules that we've all agreed upon, or else you end up putting that revenue stream in jeopardy. And man, that could be a game changer for any institution. Again, doesn't matter how many affluent alumni you've got in your back pocket.
I'm putting myself in the seat of the concerned fan, alumnus, booster, supporter, as you just described. When college football began to see a radical shift in the way that it did business, in the way that money was distributed, the way that players could benefit, the way that others wondered whether or not they could compete, all of these things. And what I hear from you is a much more cogent and direct plan, effective plan that is organized, that is well thought out, that benefits all involved, the university, the players, the alumni, the boosters, the fans of the game of college football, that it's moving inexorably towards this. And that is something that I think a few months ago would have been described alternatively as the Wild West. We're moving away from those kinds of descriptors with groups like yourself and others that you've joined forces with. I think it's reason to celebrate, just a personal opinion injected there. But for those who feel similarly, how can they get involved to help out the Battles In and the quest that you guys have to save college football and Florida State football in particular?
No, well, we'd love for you to join the Battles In, and I appreciate the opportunity there, Jeff. And if nothing else, we've got a piece of content that we're really excited, which I believe has been used as B-roll footage on some of our conversation here today about just the players' experience of going through the tour of duty workouts and some of the demands that are put on them. And hey, look, I've been diehard college football fan since I was 6 years old. And I'm still surprised by how much these guys are asked to do. And the more that I learn about exactly what the schedule is. So, that's a fun piece of content that we're excited to bring this fan base. And that's something that we're going to continue to do. But Jeff, I want you to know that anything that you heard today or listened from me is masked with a significant sense of jealousy and envy that you're over there eating Kerrygold and slapping around the golf ball in world-class golf courses, and I'm sitting here in Atlanta. So screw you, sir. Great to talk to you.
I always enjoy it, man, and the insight is greatly appreciated. Enjoy the 98-degree day that you're experiencing currently in Atlanta. It's 61 where I stand now here in Dublin, Ireland, at the time that others will hear this. And, I'll think about you. I'll pity you, and then I'll have a drink of Guinness.
Well, I won't create more work for Matthew, but you know exactly what I think of you and what you do right now.
Safe travels, sir. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you later, bud.
Later. Now, that is Ingram Smith, the CEO of the Battles Inn. How quickly this has shifted from disorganized, confusing, and potentially detrimental for Florida State to uplifting, focused, and I would say instrumental in changing the shape of Florida State football and college football on the whole. So that's a good thing. As always, folks, want to remind you of a couple of great things that are happening right now in addition to the Battles Inn. Garnet Gold and our relationship with them continues to benefit you, and that is a good thing. We will have Warchant days. Specifically, we will tell you about those days as they approach, and on those days, you'll have an opportunity to purchase from the College Vault over by the university, over by the stadium there, for up to 25% off. But I can tell you right here and right now that Warchant subscribers, if you're a Warchant subscriber, and if you're not, what the hell are we waiting on? You sign up now, subscribe today, and get set for a season for the ages one hopes, and you'll get 10% off anything you purchase just as a subscriber from Garnet and Gold. So there it is. You're a subscriber to warchant.com, 10% off for Warchant subscribers. And on special days where we get together with Garnet and Gold and call them Warchant days, you get 25% off of classic gear purchase from the Vault. So that is a really good thing. I want to welcome in really quickly Tom Lang before we wrap up here and put a ribbon on the conversation. Tom, I remember when you and I first began to talk about where this was all headed and how it seemed like, as I described earlier, the Wild Wild West. That was the descriptor most often used by those looking at the shifting landscape of college football. How far we've come. I think that you'll see others join a group like this that has a real clear directive. I think that there are powers that be within the Battles Inn, and it's not just Ingram. He'd be the first to tell you that. But the core of that group understood this could never be just about the money. The money was a big thing, but it had to be about education and opportunity and experiences and all of the things that you would want our student athletes going through a collegiate football experience to enjoy and learn from and benefit from. If that happens, fan bases, boosters, supporters, alumni of all kinds feel much better about supporting something that has been streamlined, that has focus, that has an objective that seems to be in line with what we want college football players to be involved with.
Yeah, the two-word phrase I would use is good faith. That's what people want to see, and that's what you have to exhibit here is good faith that you are abiding by something close to the system while not just going straight inducement strategy, which is free stuff, free money, free cars, whatever. Like that's what paying players to the casual college football fan, the casual college sports fan or sports fan in general, that's what they think it is. It's just cash because you can catch touchdowns, run for 1,000 yards in a season and all that kind of stuff. And yes, those who can do those things better are going to be paid more, but it has to be anchored into some sort of hybrid model that is not simply an NFL or an NBA or an MLB type situation in which you'd have to unionize or have players become employees.
Yeah.
That those would be the repercussions. And also the other thing is you don't want to lose other sports. You don't want it to be all about the money-making sports and everything else becomes regional club action. Because I love watching college softball, like in Clearwater when they do in February and they have the best teams from across the country come down and play. You don't want that to go away. You don't want a national championship for golf at Greyhawk to go away. And that's what would happen with an arms race if it's not stopped now and stopped soon. And if Congress isn't going to do it, if the federal legislators are not going to do it, then you better get your act together on the ground. I think that's the impetus for this whole thing right now.
Yeah, it's exciting. I think it's a great story. I think it was something that probably was a boost to the average fan reading something like that. Like, oh, this is taking a turn for the better. This is not taking a turn for the worse. This seems like something I could get down with, that I could support, that I could be happy to be involved with. So, as Ingram laid out there, you can get involved, go to thebattlesinn.com, all that good stuff. All right, Tommy, I'm out of here, buddy. That was a good talk with Ingram, the CEO of the Battles Inn. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Until next time you'll see me on screen, I imagine it'll be from Ireland. And that doesn't suck. So long, suckers!